Hello, everybody. It's your boy Debo here, and this week's review will be The Long Riders, directed by Walter Hill, starring James Keach as Jesse James, Stacy Keach as Frank James, David Carradine as Cole Younger, Keith Carradine as Jim Younger, Robert Carradine as Bob Younger, along with Christopher Guest and Nicholas Guest as Bob and Charlie Ford, along with Randy Quaid as Clell Miller and Dennis Quaid as Ed Miller, featuring Fran Ryan as Zerelda James, Jesse's mom. Or as I said, makes that Zerelda James Samuel, because cousin. One trivial tidbit about Jesse James was that his wife and his mom had the same name, which kind of makes sense because they were also cousins and all. And of course, James Whitmore Jr. as Rakesley, the head Pinkerton detective that was on the trail in this adaptation. I gotta say, featuring Pamela Reed as Bellstar and James Remar as Samstar. Which, now I got that straightened out of the way. Now, to say this is kind of one of the more accurate portrayals of the James Younger gang. And funny how it's called the James Younger gang when it's derived from the James brothers and the Younger brothers when there's actually a James Younger part of the Youngers, which was Keith Carradine's role. And pretty much one of the only time, at least the only time I can recall that all three Carradine brothers acted together, which is kind of what Walter Hill's vision was for it, was actual brothers playing brothers, because of how James and Stacy Keach were Frank and Jesse, David, Keith, and Bob, and Robert were F. They're both the same. Mean the same thing. Were brothers. The Guest brothers, of course, and the Quaid brothers. But I gotta give it. I say perfect. Although excellent for them. Although coming on to it, I kind of think that the Carradines should have been the Jameses, and the Keachers should have been Youngers, because in this adaptation though it's about Jesse, centered around Jesse, but mostly the whole gang. But I say in this one, the show stealer was David Carradine. That's Cole Younger. I would have liked to see him play Jesse, but hey, it was it made more sense since there are three Youngers and two Jameses. And it actually somewhat told their exploits between the end of the Civil War to their Waterloo, which was Northfield, and an excellent portrayal from the Quaids, with Randy being the superior in this one, although Dennis wound up being the big name, while Randy's kind of nut. Well, we all know what happened to Randy, and of course with Randy's portrayal of Clell Miller, which I gotta say was one of some epic, because he was just more like, how again like the movie, or they're doing a bank job, and then Ed Miller shoots the teller, and then later on gets kicked out of the gang because he tried to jeopardize their Robin Hood status. Although one major inaccuracy I could think of, or actually two, would be the absence of Dr. Reuben Samuel, who was Jesse and Frank's stepfather, although they decided to portray Jesse's mom as a widow with her. Although one thing they got right was the existence of Archie, who was the other James brother, who died at 15 after the Pinkertons tried to lit a smoke bomb into the James farm, which also maimed Zerelda James Samuel. And then of course the Jameses retaliated, and then had which was pretty much what this adaptation is more centered around, was their beef with the Pinkertons over instead of the Yankees and the law and railroad companies, which is kind of left figuring given how in reality James's had were still fighting a civil war, not like how Hollywood portrayed them as economic avengers against the corporate lords. I mean, overlords. I meant not overloads. But I gotta say, excellent portrayal by the cast, especially the Carradines, which pretty much stole the show, especially with the whole relationship with Hooker turned outlaw Belle Starr, who was up till Belle Shirley until she married Sam Starr, played by James Remar, who of course appeared in the scene and had like an epic bar fight where they had where they were supposed to where Belle has him tugged to a extreme long cloth and then some Bowie knives, and then they had like a little duel. And of course you got to have the epic shootout and the selection of guns, which I know there was the Northfield one, but there was the McCorkindale farm and a bank job that went wrong, and which was not just Northfield, and then of course the retaliation against the Pinkerton scum that blew up the farm, and of course the side relationship between Jim Younger and Beth Mims, who after being married to Ed Miller, and I mean Ed Miller was not a good guy portrayed in the movie, because I was like Dennis Quaid having a small role in it. And I was like, he was portrayed as Dennis played it, knocked it out of the park with his performance of making him playing the unlikable asshole in the film. And then, and an excellent cameo by Western legend Harry Carey Jr. And just an old Confederate veteran who was riding in a stagecoach, and then when they ambush, and then they railroad give one of the passengers a hard time for lying about being a Confederate veteran and all, and then of course you got another inaccuracy, which was the relationship between John Younger and the other Youngers, which in reality there was actually 4 Youngers that rode with the James Younger gang. While in the movie, John Younger was portrayed as a cousin, not a brother, which was kind of odd. But hey, Hollywood, you know how Hollywood is with history. So, but overall, I gotta give this an excellent 5 out of 5. I mean, flawless all around, excellent chemistry, action, and when it comes to gunplay, it wasn't just cliched of the selections of guns, because it's practically one of the rare ones that you actually had a single barrel break action shotgun, which was a favorite of Cole Younger, the movie version. That is, and then of course you got the last but not least with the epic Northfield shootout, which was in reality the James Gang's Waterloo, which took out Charlie Pitts, Clell Miller, and the Younger brothers being captured after all being mortally wounded and all. And of course a fitting ending with of course the real life portrayal or a life deal of Frank turning himself in among hearing the news of Jesse's murder. Instead of going on revenge, he decides to bury his brother and then just retire officially and get his pardon and all that. And when Cole Younger got out later on, they both formed a Wild West show alongside doing public tears about why crime didn't pay and all that. But overall, Long Riders a definite 5 out of 5. I mean, an excellent must recommend. Must recommend for anybody who's a fan of westerns or Jesse James nerds. I mean, it's one of the more somewhat accurate portrayals, but you never get 100% accurate with Hollywood. All right, I hope y'all like, subscribed, enjoy the review. Also watch the movie, and I'll keep dishing out my 2 cents on various movies.